Good morning, and welcome to the Career and Technical Education BOI Refresher and AV1 and AV2 Form Review for the school year 2026, hosted by New Hampshire Department of Education. Today, your presenters will be myself, Cassandra Reynolds. I'm the data analyst for the Division of Education Analytics and Resources, Bureau of Education Statistics. I primarily work with CATE and I4C data submissions. Also presenting with me today is Catherine Maffei. She's a program specialist with the Division of Learner Support, Office of Career and Technical Education. She works with the AV1 and AV2 form submissions and does all things tuition reimbursement and transportation. As we go through this presentation, let's keep a few community agreements in mind. We're all rather busy in our lives, but while we're watching this presentation, let's try to be present and focus on the information it contains. Let's approach all conversations with an attitude of respect. Although we won't have back and forth conversations within this presentation, there will be information that might be new to you, and you might have an opinion about it. If you reach out to somebody else regarding this information, try to be respectful. Also approach this training with a learner mindset. We all have different areas of expertise, but nobody knows everything in every aspect. And then let's hold center-specific questions until the end. This one's a little bit redundant. Obviously, I'm doing a voiceover recording, and we're not going to ask questions during the presentation. But if by the end of this presentation you have questions, please feel free to reach out. And when we get to the end, we'll go over ways that can happen. Let's get into the meat. What is CATE? CATE stands for Career and Technical Education and is the system used to collect information on programs, courses, and students at your CTE centers. CATE is a two-part system. The CATE workbench is where all the data is uploaded. And number two, CATE is where the data is stored and viewable and where it can be manipulated to a certain degree. Data submissions are uploaded and validated using the CATE system. And this information is used in multiple ways. Tuition and transportation reimbursement, a little bit more of what Catherine's going to go over later. Federal accountability requirements, career cluster enrollment reports. And this also includes things like your Perkins reports that you get in the winter. Okay, now what are these submissions and when do they happen? There are 3 required times of the year for data submissions. The beginning of the year, BOI, which is due October 15th. Middle of the year, known as MOI, is due February 15th. And the end of the year, known as the EOI, is due June 30th. There are 3 different submission types that are required during these times. The first one is our CATE course. This includes course information, educator, semester, class name, start and end dates. These are getting your courses into the CATE database. The next upload you'll need is the CATE BOI, MOI, or EOI. For this time of year, we're going to be focused on the CATE BOI. This upload enrolls your students into a CTE program. And the last file upload is going to be the CATE student course. This enrolls students into courses that are within a CTE program. So a good example, you're going to enroll George into culinary with your BOI. And then with your CATE student course, you're going to enroll George into Baking 101. Now that we've gone over what submissions we're looking for and when they're due, let's take a closer look at each submission. The first one is the CATE course. Again, this is what gets all of your programs and courses into the CATE database so you can then enroll your students into them. The first few fields on the CATE course are for the receiving school. And note, anytime you're entering school information, the SAU, district number, and school numbers must all match for a school or center, or you will receive errors. The next column is your teacher educator ID. There are spaces for 3. You must have at least one. You can use all 3. The next column is the program ID. This is required because this is what's going to indicate what program the course is under. Then you need your beginning and end dates for the course, the school year, the term ID, term 1, term 2, 30 is for a full year. Next column is how many credits for that course. Next column is room number. This is listed as an optional field. You don't have to list it. It's not something that we collect. The next important column is the local class code. So this is really important because it must be a unique local class code. So we'll take this first top example, Auto Tech 1. You could have 3 Auto Tech 1 classes, and they could all be labeled Auto Tech 1. That could be their local class name. But each Auto Tech 1 must have a unique local class code. So in this example, Auto Tech 1, the first one is 935.2. So your next one could be 935.3 and then 0.4 and so on for how many classes you have. Okay. So local class, the next column is the local class name, so the name of your course. Next field is the length in minutes for that course. Next column is the number of classes for semester 1. If this is a full year course, then you're going to have the same thing, number of classes for semester 2. Obviously, if it's just a semester 2 class, then you're not going to have any classes in the semester 1 column. It would just be in the semester 2. For the course ID and the section ID, I would highly recommend leaving those fields blank as we don't collect data on them and they are kind of likely to create errors for you. All right, the next slide, the CATE VOI, MOI, EOI. This file is exactly the same for all 3 uploads, but for our purposes today, we're just going to be focusing on the BOI. This is split up into 2 different slides because the BOI is quite a large file. So this is the file that we are now enrolling our students into their chosen programs. So the first couple of columns are to identify our students. We have our SACID and the date of birth. The next 3 columns are going to be your sending school information. So again, just like on the CATE course for the receiving school, sending school, the SAU, the district number, and the school number must be matched or you'll get errors. The next 3 columns after that are the information for the receiving school. Again, matching SAU, district, and school numbers. Next column is your school year, 2026. Then comes the grade level for the student, the enrollment status for the primary program. Your options are really enrolled, homeschooled, or enrolled in a non-public school. The next column is going to be your entry date and your entry code. Okay, so your V1 is for your in-state tuition, V2 your out-of-state tuition students, and V3 your not tuition students. These are basically the students that are within your same district. For the purposes of the BOI, we will not be using the exit date or the exit codes. The only reason I would think that you might use this at this point is if you already know that you have a student that has withdrawn from a program in their course. That's the only situation that you probably might have an exit date and exit code. The next column after that is the primary program code. And this obviously puts them in the program that they want. The next column is your program completer. Now, for most folks at the BOI, this will be an N for no. The only reason that someone might be a completer is if the student is a senior, perhaps, and maybe they took a whole bunch of courses their junior year, and now they're just finishing up with their final one. Um, Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Scratch that. Because now that I'm thinking about it, you wouldn't really want to mark that student as a completer until the MOI, just in case they don't complete the course. Um, so for the most part, at the BOI, you will have 99% of your students are going to be not completers yet. Now, the next few slides on our CATE BOI are regarding student demographic information, which we don't collect anymore and is more likely to create errors, so just please don't fill it in. The next field that we have that we do collect and is actually really important is our work-based learning field. This really needs to be accurate because it also connects to our Perkins indicators. Now, every center within the state has 4 career clusters that must be marked as work-based learning. Those include education, health services, human services, aka cosmetology, and transportation, distribution, and logistics. And these are considered work-based learning because the people teaching these programs and courses are licensed outside of being teachers. So they are actually licensed in their professions, helping the students. And typically students will come out of these programs with also some sort of certification of some kind. So it has to really be, to be considered work-based learning, moreover, it needs to be a professional that is not a professional teacher, but they also are certified to do what they're teaching. So like in cosmetology, everyone that teaches that they are at a licensed salon, they are providing services and they are being taught by a person that is not just a teacher, but is also certified through like cosmetology boards or whatever. So that's the difference between what makes work-based learning and what doesn't. But again, if you have any of those 4 main programs, clusters that I mentioned before, those must be work-based learning. If you are a center that is able to, say in culinary, get a certified person to come in and teach, then you could possibly have work-based learning at your center for culinary, where maybe another center does not. Okay, the next field that we have is a transportation mode. We have self-transport, standard for bus, self-transport by choice, and non-tuition. If you have any self-transporting students, you need to get a document over to Catherine so she can get the rates put into CATE for you, or they're not going to show up. And she can speak a little bit more to that later on in the slides as well. The next 2 columns that we have are the days in attendance for semester 1 and then semester 2. We have displaced homemaker and single parent. The next field that is on our CATE BOI is our primary program flag. So every student must have a primary program. If a student is in more than one program, then you need to just choose one, and typically we would go with the one that has more courses or more time that he's spending in it, or she. The last field in this upload is the TSA flag, which we don't collect at all, so no data is necessary there. And that's your CATE BOI. Now moving on to our last file upload. We have the CATE student course. So we've got our programs and our courses in the CATE database. We've now enrolled our students into their programs with our CATE BOI. Now we're going to enroll those students in their courses within their chosen programs using the CATE student course. So the first two columns on this file upload are identifying the student with their SACID and their date of birth. This file only is concerned about the receiving school, aka the CTE center. So again, just to reiterate, we need to make sure that the SAU, the district number, and the school number match for the center. The next field is our unique local class code that's going to enroll them in the course with the corresponding program ID. That's next. Or we need our current school year for 2026, the term ID. The next field, also very, very important, is our concentrator field. Now, what makes a student a concentrator? A student is a concentrator when they have completed either 2 semesters within a program or a full year. So if George is in culinary and he takes baking 101 first semester, he's not a concentrator. If he takes baking 101 first semester and then he takes knife skills for semester 2, at the end of knife skills, he's now a concentrator. If George then takes, I don't know, sauce making, that's a full year course. At the end of that full year course, he would be a concentrator. The other situation that you could have, which isn't as common, but if you had a junior coming back as a senior, if he took his first course in under culinary, so he took baking 101 his first semester of junior year, decided he wanted to try auto for the second semester, didn't like it, so now he's coming back as a senior and he decided he wants to do culinary. So he's going to take his second course in culinary. He's now a concentrator in culinary. Okay? We do not collect on total competencies completed, so don't fill it in. The next field is the enrollment status for the primary program. So it's typically going to be a 1 for enrolled. The next 2 fields are our entry dates and our entry codes. For the BOI, you will not be using the exit date or the exit codes. The only situation you would, was like when I previously said, is if you happen to have a student that has already withdrawn from a program in the courses, you could add that exit date at this point in time. And then the last field is the actual number of classes attended by the student in this class. This field shouldn't be populated at the BOI. You would add this information with the exit date at the MOI. Okay? And now you would have your students in CATE in their programs and their courses ready to go. For school year 2026, we have a new program code. The new program code is 490000, and it is called Transportation and Materials Moving. There are 3 programs that are getting consolidated into this new one. The first is Heavy Equipment Maintenance, Technology and Technician, 470302. Auto Body and Collision and Repair Technology and Technician, 470603. Automobile and Automotive Mechanics Technology and Technician, 470604. I have already updated all centers approved programs for anybody that had those 3 programs. I have now converted them into the new Program of Transportation and Materials Moving 490000. So if you try to use any of the old codes, they'll just error out. Now, to be able to participate in the wonderful world of CATE and submitting your center's data, you must have a My New Hampshire DOE account and have CATE access. If you do not have a My New Hampshire DOE account, please create one using the link. When this is published, you'll be able to click on the link. After you create an account, then you can contact your local security administrator, or LSA, and they can give you access for your center to be able to upload your data. Once CATE access is turned on for you, at the next login, you'll be able to select CATE to do your uploads and review your data. Where to access CATE? To log into CATE, you're going to sign into your My New Hampshire DOE account, and then you select from the system role listing, you're going to select CATE. Then from there, you're either going to select CATE if you're going to review your data, or the CATE workbench if you're uploading. Before we even start uploading our CATE courses, every center must go in under CATE and enter their school year data. The school year data must be entered in CATE before any submissions can be uploaded to the CATE workbench, or you're just going to receive errors because nothing's going to match. CATE will do validations in the background to match your dates with your programs and what you have in your data. So please make sure that all of the school year data is entered before attempting your uploads. Now to start our uploads, you're going to use the CATE workbench, and this is what it mainly looks like. Up top, we have our tabs for the workbench, which we're on, upload, student search, CATE, help, my DOE, bring you back to your system roles, and log out. When you're going to submit your data, you need to make sure that your school is selected, and then you're going to click on upload. When you're uploading your data to CATE, it must be on a file that is saved in that CSV format. When you go to upload, after you've clicked on upload, it's going to bring up this box here. You need to make sure that you are selecting the appropriate submission type. So if you are uploading your CATE course, then you're going to make sure that the submission type is CATE course. If you have moved on to your CATE BOI, then you're going to make sure that you are selecting the submission type of CATE BOI and not your student course. Next, you're going to move down to the Remove Headers indicator, and you're going to want to check this. Next, you're going to choose your file from wherever you save it. And next, there's a space for a comment. I would really recommend using a comment. Sometimes, obviously, these can go by really smoothly and they just process right away. Sometimes we can have multiple uploads that have errors, and it's just good to know where you stand and like which ones. Some centers have really large schools and they split it in certain ways, so that helps indicate like which group you're working with. The next field down is the email. Typically, because you have an account in My New Hampshire DOE, when you are filling this out, it's going to pull up your email that goes with that. So then once you have all of that filled in, now you're going to click on Pre-Check Formatting. Pre-Check Formatting checks the file format in the data elements in the attempted upload. If there are any incorrect data types or an incorrect number of columns, the submission will fail and you will receive an error message. If failed, corrections will need to be made to the CSV file, then another upload must be attempted until it passes. The great thing about this box is when you pre-check formatting, if there are validation errors, it will pop up a box like this, and it tells you pretty much exactly where to look, what the error is. And then we also have a really good resource called the Data Dictionary. Now, since when you're doing your pre-check formatting, and if it pops out validation errors for you, and it's giving you exactly um, what the error is, you can then use the data dictionary to go to that column and see what is it looking for? What is the format? How many um, characters should it be? So for example, let's see, a receiving school number, district receiving number, needs to be 6 digits. If you have 7, then it's going to create an error. So if you look at um, your error list right here, and we go down and we see district number received is greater than the max value of 3. Okay, so here it's 6. So it looks like they're trying to use the school code instead of the district code. If you're like, oh, okay, wait a minute, like I need to know more about this field. So you could go right to the data dictionary and then find that column, and it'll give you all the information. So here's a little bit um, of what the data dictionary looks like. So I did the EOI collection here for the description, and it gives you, a description of what the EOI is, why we're kind of using it. It gives columns that match up to the file upload, and it's going to match everything right here. And it's also going to be in order, like the same exact order. Um, and you can click on any one of these, and it will go further into detail. It'll give you more detail that looks like this. Definition, purposes, collection reason, valid codes, and the validation rules that go around it. So you can kind of problem solve on why it might be failing in your file. So again, this is a great resource if you're just like, why isn't this accepting it? And sometimes it's just like a decimal point or a single digit or an extra blank space that you didn't see, which is making it have an extra space, obviously. So it's creating the validation error. Okay, so please try to use this before you reach out with questions. And if you check the data dictionary and you're still kind of scratching your head, then go ahead and reach out and I can do a deeper dive. So once your files pass the pre-check formatting, the system automatically runs the submission through validation rules to help clean the data. Your batch will be at the top of your work queue, and it'll either have a status of batch verified with errors, or a validation error. If you come up with a validation error at this point and it's gotten over to the workbench, just create a help desk ticket with what's going on and submit your file that you're trying to upload so we can do a bigger dive. Sometimes it's a simple validation rule that just slipped through. But sometimes if you get in it at this point, then it could even mean that something in the database itself is broken and we need to have IT take a look at it. So batch verified with errors means that it passed the validation rules, but there are still some things that could be wonky. like maybe the SACID and date of birth don't match, so that needs to be fixed. Or um, the SAU district number and school number don't match, so something needs to be changed there. Those are the kind of changes that we're looking at. If you want to take a look at what the errors are, if you select the batch, then click on View Details, and it'll give you that message up at the top on whether, what it is, if it's the SASs and date of birth not matching, or if it's the school information not matching. If your batch is at batch verified, then that means you're just ready for the next step to process and get your data into CATE. There are two basic ways to fix errors. Option one is to fix them directly in your spreadsheet, save, and re-upload. I would highly recommend this method as it guarantees that you have a copy of exactly what was uploaded. So it just gets rid of confusion. The second method is to fix the information right in the workbench itself. And to do this, you can click on the View Data, or View Details, I'm sorry. And if you click on Edit on the far left-hand side, you can update whatever it is that's missing. So for this example, let's just say that the local class code didn't match what was in CATE. So the local class code didn't match the local class name in the semester and the year. So we go back and we look into what we have in CATE, and we're like, oh, okay, sorry, that was supposed to be point 2. So you just fix that local class code, you're going to click save and carry through. And then that would, say if that was the only error that you have, now it's going to change your status to batch verified. I would suggest, however, if you are making your edits right into the workbench, that you also make those edits in your upload and save those somewhere so you have them. Just because for some reason, if you needed to use that upload again, but you have incorrect data in it that you've already fixed, then it's just going to upload incorrect data again. So just make sure that it matches. So now we've fixed all our errors and we're at batch verified. What's our next step? After getting the batch verified, the final step for the batch is to process it. And this is done on the CATE side. So you're going to go into CATE, not the workbench, click on the Admin tab, then Submission Status. You will see all batch verified batches for the current year. You're going to click Process on the left side. This takes the data through one more round of validations comparing information currently in CATE. The system will run the checks, and there are two options of things that will occur. You'll either be processed and it'll be all done for you, or there'll be errors to resolve. And you'll get a pop-up box that looks like this. It gives you your processing results. You're going to look at the errors, make the edits that you need, and re-verify and try to process again. And this is the same cycle that you're going to go through for all 3 submission types. Once an upload is processed, that data will now appear in the CATE system and the DOE database. If a batch is not processed, that data is not in CATE and it's not in the DOE database. It's just kind of floating out there, ready to be used. Once your CATE course, BOI, MOI, EOI, and student course are all processed, you're done with the current round of submissions. Very exciting times. Now, the submission order matters. The CATE system has program and course codes that are all connected. If certain data is not processed or current in CATE, other submissions may receive errors. The first that we need to upload and process is the CATE course. This is so all course information is in the system, and it can validate rules regarding entry dates, exit dates, and for students and courses, and that courses are invalid programs. You're going to upload the CATE course file to the workbench first, then process it on the CATE side. If you don't process the CATE course before uploading any other files, you're probably going to receive a bunch of errors. The second file that you're going to want to get processed is your CATE BOI, MOI, and EOI. This will enroll students in their programs or exit them if we're at the MOI. If a student is not enrolled in a program or their entry-exit dates don't match up, the student course will receive errors. So now the third one that we want to upload and process is the CATE course, student course. This is what enrolls the students into the courses within the programs. These course dates must be within the program enrollment dates. Also, these courses must exist by being in the CATE course upload, and all the date and class code information must match up. I've included in the slideshow, I'm not going to go over it because it'd be just listening to a whole bunch of words, but of just kind of the flow chart of how the CATE submission upload works and can revolve. It can be helpful to see it from like outside. When requesting CATE assistance, when possible, please submit requests for assistance through the CATE help desk by creating a help desk ticket. You can use email as the second option for requesting assistance. This is just primarily because I am the only person that really deals with CATE uploads. So if you send all your requests to me as emails and say I'm out for an extended period of time, then that's just a delay in getting your situation taken care of. If, however, it's a help desk ticket and my team is aware that I'm going to be out for a while, we could have people watching the help desk tickets and can more easily respond to them and get you what you need. When inquiring about an issue with a particular student, do not include the student's name, SACID, and date of birth together in the ticket. This is a violation of New Hampshire law. Whenever possible, please provide the SACID only. You could do a SACID and a name, but whatever you do, please try not to do all three at one time. And I will say on my end, SACIDs really work easier for whatever reason. My CATE database hates when I try to do a name lookup. It just takes forever and ever and ever, and sometimes just won't even work. But SACIDs go through super quick. So if you could do that, then that would be fantastic. Now, just a few helpful links. When this is posted and you have it for yourself, you will be able to click on these links. The first link I have is to my New Hampshire DOE login page. This is where you're going to do your uploading and view your data. The DOE data dictionary. Again, this is if you have any questions about any of your fields in your uploads, you can go to the data dictionary. It will give you all the validation rules, the valid codes, why we do it. The next link is to our CTE data submission templates. This is a helpful website because it's got a whole bunch of data. It's got the templates and it's got the data submission dates and the links to the zip codes as well. The last link is to our CATE help desk and our frequently asked questions, aka this will be our CATE training page. On this page, I also have all of these other links. I also post all of the most recent CATE presentations. I will post the videos, the PDFs, or the PowerPoints. Those will all be there. I also have a little bit of AV1 information to help go with the CATE submissions. So all of these links will lead you to any of the data information. Oh, I'm sorry. Also, I want to point out, also at the CATE Help Desk link in our CATE training page on Jira, I also have a copy of the user guide, which is extremely user friendly. It literally goes like step by step and kind of walks you through it. I tried to make it like as I was walking through it myself and what is the best step by step. Um, so I actually have that posted on our CATE home training page, and it's also on the CATE data submissions page as well. So I forgot to delete this slide from my voiceover presentation, so I'm just going to keep it in for now. At this point in time, if you do have questions and you would like to write them down, so you can pop us an email or a help desk ticket if you need to. I am done with the CATE uploading data portion of this, and I will turn the rest of the presentation over to Catherine so she can finish and review the AV1, AV2 forms with you all. And I hope you guys got a lot of information out of this. Again, if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and have a wonderful day.
Hello, and welcome to the AV1 and AV2 form review. My name is Catherine Maffei, and I am the CTE Program Specialist for the Office of Career and Technical Education at the New Hampshire Department of Education. The good news is AV1 and AV2 forms have new due dates starting this school year, 2025 through 2026. October 30th is the new due date for the budget AV1 forms. The budget AV1 forms are optional. March 1st is the new due date for the semester 1 AV1 form. July 15th is the new due date for the semester 2 AV1 form. And September 30th remains the final deadline for all AV1 forms. Please do note that failure to submit AV1 forms by September 30th may result in the withholding of funds as stated in RSA 188-E:9-1. You may be wondering exactly what is an AV1 form? Well, it started with New Hampshire RSA 188-E:6, costs for students attending career and technical education programs, that states, 1. The state shall pay a portion of the cost of tuition and reimburse transportation costs as provided in this section for a sending district student attending an approved career and technical education, otherwise known as CTE program. 2. A student's sending district shall be financially responsible for 25% of the career and technical education portion of the receiving district's cost per pupil for the prior school year as calculated by the Department of Education. Therefore, the AV1 form was developed to be the document used as the means for CTE centers, aka the receiving school districts, to request the 25% tuition payment from the sending school districts, to request tuition reimbursement from the state of New Hampshire, and to request a transportation reimbursement for the sending school districts from the state of New Hampshire. Here we have the first page of the AV1 form. All of the data you just recently entered into the CATE system will now automatically propagate the AV1 form for your CTE students. Also displayed on the form, you will see the receiving CTE school, the sending school or district, the current school year, and the total receiving district tuition rate. The total receiving district tuition rate is the receiving district's prior year cost per pupil. Also displayed on the form, you will see the name of the student in column A, the grade the student is in column B, the program or the course the student is taking, that is in column C, the tuition charge for the semester in column D, the enrollment start date of the student in column E, the enrollment end date of the student in column F, and the district charge shall be in column G. Now the district charge in column G is 25% of what the tuition charge is listed in column D. And that is what the sending district will need to pay to the receiving district for their percentage of the tuition. Column H shows the number of days the student actually attended the program or course. Column I is the transportation rate. Currently, the transportation rate is 10 cents per mile round trip per student for students that take a bus. If a bus is available, but the student wishes to drive him or herself, the rate would still be 10 cents per mile round trip. If the student doesn't have access to any transportation and therefore has no choice but to drive him or herself, the transportation reimbursement rate would then be 25 cents per mile round trip. To find out the transportation charge, you simply would take the number of days of attendance and multiply it by the rate in column I, and that would give you the transportation charge in column J. And the transportation charge is what the state of New Hampshire will be reimbursing the sending district for their students transporting back and forth from their district to the CTE center. Here we have the second page of the AV1 form. Again, you'll see displayed will be the receiving CTE school, the sending district, the current school year, and the total receiving district tuition rate. Listed on the second page will be the total district tuition charge. That amount is the amount that the sending district needs to pay to the receiving district for their portion of the tuition. Listed on the second page is also the total state transportation being requested. That total amount is what the sending district will be expecting the state of New Hampshire to reimburse them for their students transporting from their district to the CTE center and back. It is extremely important that the receiving district has their superintendent sign and date this AV1 form and then email it and CCing me, Catherine Maffei, on that email to the sending district. Once the sending district receives the AV1 form, they will want to review the form, making sure that the tuition they're being charged with is accurate and that the reimbursement that they're looking to be getting from the state of New Hampshire for transportation also looks accurate. If they determine that everything is good and everything is accurate, then they need to have their superintendent sign and date the form, and then they in turn need to email their signed form back to the receiving district and copying me on that email as well. This then provides our office, Career and Technical Education, a copy of the form with both signatures on it and allows the state of New Hampshire to be able to reimburse the receiving district the state's portion of the tuition, and it allows the state of New Hampshire to reimburse the sending district for the transportation of their students to and from the CTE Center. This brings us to the AV2 form. What is an AV2 form? The AV2 form is also known as the differential form. This started with RSA 188-E:7-tuition 4. That states the liability of the state and local school districts for tuition shall be determined by the state board under rules adopted pursuant to RSA 541-A, provided that a receiving district may charge a student from a sending district a differential fee for career and technical education not to exceed 3% of the receiving district's cost per pupil for the prior school year as calculated by the Department of Education, and provided that the receiving district shall deposit the differential fee into its capital reserve account to be used for career and technical education program development, improvement, and equipment. Here we have the AV2 form. It is important to note that prior to being able to send an AV2 form to your sending districts, that the receiving district already has established a capital reserve account. So when it receives the differential fee payment from its sending districts and from the state of New Hampshire, it has an account it can deposit those funds into. Also to note that prior to producing the AV2 form in the CATE system, the receiving district needs to go into the CATE system, to the admin tab, choose school year data from the drop-down menu. The semester 1 and semester 2 information needs to be completed if it has not been already. And the tuition differential will be listed beneath the semester 1 and semester 2 information. You will need to input the total differential charge here for it to show on the AV2 form. To determine what your total tuition differential charge will be, you will need to take your total receiving district tuition rate from your AV1 form and multiply that by the percentage you're charging for your differential, which cannot be more than 3%. This will get you what your differential charge will be. You need to enter that amount here as the tuition differential. Once that has been completed, then you will be able to produce your AV2 form. You'll see also on the AV2 form, it will be displayed the receiving CTE school, the sending school or district, the current school year, and the total receiving district tuition differential charge that you have entered into the CATE system. You will see displayed the student's name in column A, the student's grade in column B, the program course the student is in column C, The differential charge is in column E, and that is per semester. So that will be half of what is being shown as the total receiving district tuition differential charge above. So that is per semester. That will be half of that charge. The student enrollment start date and the student enrollment end date is in column F. Column G is where the district charge will be listed, and the district charge is 25% of the differential charge listed in column E, and that is what the sending district will be paying for the differential fee. Column H is the state charge, and the state charge is 75% of the differential charge that is listed in column E, and that is what the state will be paying to the receiving district for the differential fee. Now, just like the AV1 form, it is equally as important to make sure that the receiving district has the form signed and dated by its superintendent. The AV2 form should be emailed along with the AV1 form to your sending districts. When the sending district receives the forms, they should review them. And just like the AV1 form, the sending district should review the AV2 form to make sure what is being charged appears to be accurate. And if they are satisfied with the accuracy, their superintendent needs to sign and date the form and email it back to the receiving district. Again, ensuring that I am CC'd on the email to and from. The end result being that our office will have both signatures on a completed AV1 and AV2 form. This brings us to the end of the AV1 and AV2 form review. Thank you so much for attending or listening to this presentation. Should you have any questions at all regarding the AV1 or AV2 form, please do not hesitate to contact me. You can reach me via the phone at 603-271-3867, or you're more than welcome to send me an email at Catherine, and that is spelled KATHRYN .F for Francis .Maffei, and that is spelled MAFFEI at DOE.NH.gov. Thank you again and have a great day.